Today I'm going over day unit 1, day 4, and as you guys can see, I don't know what's wrong with this, so let me use the highlighter, might be better. Distance and I'm using the mouse. Distance and Pythagorean theorem is what we're going to be working on today. And the objective is you'll be able to calculate the length of a segment using distance and Pythagorean theorem. So we're going to use both, but eventually you guys have to kind of decide which method is better for you. If you want to do Pythagorean theorem, which is perfectly fine, the only thing is you probably have to graph it. So if the number that they give you is not that we cannot graph it because it's too huge, then you probably would have to do the distance method. Okay, but one thing you guys need to know is you're gonna see this over and over again, finding the distance between 2 points. And it would, this is unit 1, you'll see it again in unit 3, you'll see it again in unit 4. So and this would not be given to you in a formula sheet, so you have to memorize it. So I'm going to take this example 1 and try to do both. I'm going to do it using Pythagorean method, and I'm going to do it using distance formula. The Pythagorean theorem you have seen before, a squared plus b squared equals to c squared. In this case, a lot of times when you were doing it in algebra, they would give you what is a, what is b, and they ask you to solve for c. In this case, you gotta find what is a by just graphing it, okay? And it doesn't matter which one you label as your a, so I can label this as my a, and I can label the vertical distance as my b, and then of course the one I'm looking for opposite to the 90-degree angle is going to be your C. So just count how many points is from this point to this point, from A to C. So I can go 1, 2, 3. So from -2 to +1 is 3. So 3 squared, that is your A, plus B is from -1 to +3. So if you count 1, 2, 3, 4, that is 4 squared. It's going to equal to c squared. Okay, so 3 squared is 9, right? Plus 4 squared is 16, is going to equal to c squared. So this add up to 25 is going to be c squared. But you're looking for c, so you got to do the square root of the number to get rid of the square. So then I'll end up with 5 equals to c. Okay, so this is using the Pythagorean theorem. If I wanted to do distance, and you see how they give you the coordinate of a is -2, and this is the distance I'm trying to find, right? The distance from A to B. So they gave me my A is -2, -1, B is 1 and 3. So what I need to write it as is what is your x1, y1. So if I label this is my x1, y1, and if I label B as x2, y2, so when you see this is x2 minus x1, x2 is +1, right? So I'm just going to use +1 here. X1 is going to be -2, right? And then I'll rewrite it again. Y2 is given to be 3, and Y1 is going to given to be -1. So when I wanted to use the distance, you got to always do the square root, okay? And in parentheses is x2, which is 1, minus -2 squared, right? Plus 3 minus -1 squared. It is important you write it out. And then you said, oh, I have 2 negatives side by side, so that always changes into a positive, that changes into a positive. So then I can say, okay, what is 1 plus 2? It is going to be 3 squared, right? Make sure you always put it in parentheses, because if it is a negative number, you want to make sure you understand that that number squared is going to give you a positive number. You see how we end up with this number, 3 and 4? So 3 squared is 9 plus 16. And you can see 25 is equal to C, which is 5 is C, right? So both ways will get you to the right answer. So you decided which method you want to do. So as we go, and if the number is, small enough that I can graph it, I'd rather do Pythagorean Theorem. So here, find the length between C and D is the first example. And that, of course, having a graph paper is kind of going to help you. So C is -3 and +2, so C is somewhere here. So this one is kind of hard to see, right? And D is +4, -1. So I want to find the distance between C and D. So since it's kind of hard for me to graph it, because I can't see the graph with this copy that I have, I'm just going to say, okay, I'm just going to use distance. So I'm going to label the first one x1, y1, and then the second one I'm going to label it as x2, y2, right? And then the formula goes in, okay, x2 minus x1, so I'm going to say x2 is 4 minus -3 squared plus y2 is -1 minus 2 squared. And again, when you see two negatives together side by side, that is plus. 4 plus 3 is 7, right? Keep it in parentheses, 7 squared, plus -1 minus 2 is -3 squared. And this is a mistake that I've seen over and over. When you put this, if you don't put it in a parentheses in your calculator, if you just put -3 squared, it's just going to give you -9. You need to put it in parentheses. So 7 squared is going to give you 49. -3 squared is going to give you 9. So we're just going to say, okay, this is going to be approximately, well, if I wanted to take it out of the square root, 58, right? And it's going to be approximately whatever decimal number you're going to find this is going to be equal, because you're kind of want it rounded up to the nearest number. Okay, so for the honor students, you are expected to know how to simplify radicals. So the answers you're giving us have to be in a simplified radical form. Okay, simplified radical form, and I'll go over that more in class. Okay, so try number 2, and this is kind of the same, and it's kind of trying to get you into a word problem. It just says, if you were to put Fairfax County on a map, you live at a coordinate -5 and 7. Your best friend lives at coordinate 3 and -2. So I want you to plot and label your house and the coordinate. You are going to fly. Wouldn't that be too cool? Yeah, you're right. To your best friend's house. How far will you fly, and if each box is 1 mile? So it's kind of drawing it out using Pythagorean theorem. So this is all we have to do. We are learning. I know it's just like, what? It's an 8-minute video or a 10-minute video, but it is a very important concept, because you guys need to know and memorize this and be able to use it over and over again as we go through the unit. Okay, so I'm done with this section, and we have one more section after this, or 2 more, and then we'll be done with unit 1. But make sure you know your distance formula and come with your question. Okay.